Welcome everyone to a quick after work update year-end report 2023 of our T2 open source Linux distribution, all things cross-compiled and so on. And one thing, basically 66,000 revisions 25 years later, right? You've seen that here on the Moorman channel, on which I currently can't live stream because the YouTube algorithm is promoting some videos and I can't disturb the YouTube algorithm. So some quick update here randomly on this channel. It basically, I love basically to summarize this, I love when a plan comes together and it's not even a challenge anymore, right? With the advancements of our T2 Linux distribution, probably around 5 years here on this channel, working nearly daily here on improving stuff, fixing stuff, optimizing stuff. We not only have over 30 CPU architectures working from ARM, 32-bit, 64-bit, ARM, ARM64, MIPS, MIPS64, Super H, Spark, Spark64, RISC-V, RISC-V 64. You notice a pattern, right? PowerPC, PowerPC 64, x86 and some in between, inside and out and elsewhere. Basically, it's not even a challenge anymore, right? Everything, like after fixing 5,000 bugs here live on these channels, nearly everything except util Linux on Long Arch compiles. And I'm actually inclined, of course we have a couple of more architectures to add, right? So basically live on this channel, you know what, 31, 2, 3, 4, maybe we make the 35, because we have here, why 35? I mean, we have here for next year to add some stuff that previously was a little bit too broken, like Blackfin is partially broken. I mean, Blackfin, we actually had embedded projects, and Ascosia or so, PVS, what is it, phone switching, whatever stuff, they used even T2 because we were the nearly, if not the only one supporting Blackfin DSPs. So ironically, that was totally stable 15 years ago, but you know how it is. It's only constant is change and regressions. So of course, Blackfin DSP stuff. With Linux or GCC, there were changes, there were regressions. So only constant is change and regressions. But anyway, I've worked a little bit on that like a year ago. Obviously not important. Although, ironically, I have a Blackfin DSP board here in the company. Exa CodeWriter recurring theme. Don't delay. Don't forget that my company sponsors all this stuff here, and you can Patreon, GoFundMe, YouTube membership, or just find our paperless Office products for Mac and Windows even, when we're not doing our fancy Linux distribution. So we have some stuff to add next year, maybe the non-X super old, although probably not. Like I'm not adding the craziest shit. So I mean, we can easily, maybe next year, challenge accepted. Did I just say it's not even a challenge anymore? My Epic Threadripping, water-cooled, overclocked and stuff, 96 GB only. Hey, we don't even need Threadripper or Epic. We can build Firefox and other Rust cargo based system stuff. 34 architecture combinations, although some are not full featured like utilibc, so certainly no Firefox there, in just about 24 hours, which is absolutely crazy. Other Linux distributions have a stack of RISC-V boards, a cluster of SGI origins, or other crazy mountains of ARM hardware. We just Epic Threadrip through that. Certainly scalability, maintainability, reproducibility, testability, and unit testing comes into play. I have a little bit of long-thon fixing here to make our Chinese friends happy with their Chinese domestic either here. What I wanted to add, so maybe next year, Shellac subscribe, right? We have some crazy embedded stuff, so probably Backfin. Do I have this twice here? Was it not? All right, Bfin, Blackfin. Why do I? Apparently, I have this twice for some reason. Can delete that. So yeah, we probably can make this 40 real different architectures. Why do I have uclibc in Long Arch? Maybe it's supported there. Okay, let's clean this up a little bit further. That is long. Okay, leave it like there because Long Arch 64 we have already. Yeah, maybe C-Sky, Blackfin. Actually, uclibc. Why do I need? They have Spark. Why do I even have that there? I mean, Spark. Otherwise, you know what? Let's delete it there. because we have Spark 32-bit glibc support. So yeah, some of this stuff we can add next year. And one last thing, I recently added Musel just for the test coverage. So we have ARM Musel, so we probably have 2 Musel builds for those who are into non-GNU, non-glibc, smaller size, smaller, insaner, trusted code base. ARM64 and x86 64. And I probably do the same for Clang, just to have more coverage. Otherwise, this Clang here is cross-compiling on the native. So let's also make this ARM64 Clang. It probably should just work like that in this combination. Let's internal build Arch ARM64 Clang. Let's see if that probably should just work like that. And otherwise, of course, in our team, given that we support everything and then some, continuing to support Itanium. I soon will make actually an Itanium video. I already hardware swapped an Itanium with friends to our efforts, our channel NT2 Linux, which is totally amazing. Dual core Itanium. I got now, so shall I subscribe for a dedicated Itanium hardware review, in-depth review channel here on this channel, video on this channel. Probably I need to score a second processor for this to have a dual processor, dual core 4-way SMP system for that. Of course, we now made a better job adding some news to our website. Build time, what we added so much. I mean, it's absolutely crazy how much we work on things, especially for free, day, night, and every day. Even build time estimation, one of the most amazing features that I love myself. Of course, I always had a feeling of like this might build 5 minutes or 30, but it is one thing if you build through that on your Ryzen system. So I actually should have built that with Parallel 32. But of course, it makes everything so much more enjoyable when you know the Steam Deck will build something in 2 minutes and not 20 or stuff. Because obviously when you switch between systems and you have some Ryzen 750X there, some Itanium there, some Hewlett-Packard Precision Architecture there, then it is of course very helpful if you emerge something that you get now some estimate. It will actually, for fun, I probably add support to indicate days. Maybe I should even add weeks and months, because someone recently tried to emerge Firefox, which was some thousands of hours estimated on some Sun Ultra 5. So yeah, probably just for the fun joke and pure trolling of it, I should add, because currently it scales out at human readable printing of hours. Yeah, we need days and months and maybe years, just for the fun of it. Otherwise, yeah, other stuff that we do that are not, I mean, it's absolutely crazy that it's just half a year ago that we added 32-bit Rust C stuff and more ARM Big Endian. In general, I think we have forgotten ARM here in this headline. Yeah, one of the few distributions to support 32-bit RISC-V. Why did I write the 32-bit Rust? Anyway, the stuff that you scroll over it 5 times and then you present it live on YouTube and you find stuff. Just today I made some last minute things so that T2 comes up in QEMU on both PowerPC as well as Spark with video, due to kernel configuration, frame buffer stuff and other non-aliasing and auto-loading details that wasn't in the initRD, that wasn't configured auto-loading in some way. That certainly is very helpful. And because we are becoming known for putting all this reproducibly and reliably working cross-compiled images out with ease. Of all people, the GNU-lib authors took T2, is now a major architecture being used for testing the GNU-lib, the GNU not C, but other core library functions shared between a couple of packages, probably from binutils, GCC, probably all the other GNU stuff, which obviously double, triple, quadruples, or probably orders of magnitudes increases T2 visibility and testing, which is obviously totally amazing. And as I mentioned on the MoreLife channel, this is the kind of stuff, since I put the release candidate images out probably in the beginning of December, I was daily overloaded with feedback like I have never seen before from the GNU-lib people, from other people, QEMU, Itanium, HPPA, you name it. And the HPPA Linux people even listed on their website support for that. So wherever, also here you Google this, and oh, why is Gentoo first and Debian? Where even is maybe here on some PA-RISC website we are now listed here, which is totally amazing. And yeah, it shows attention to detail. 25 years later, although I should say it would have only been 10 if I mentioned it before I take a bit of a timeout from T2 that previously was Rock Linux for a decade, from 2008 to 2018 or so, plus minus a year. I basically only maintained the core stuff, glibc, Linux kernel, GCC, and so on, and neglected, and Xorg, but I neglected KDE and GNOME because who uses it anyway, right? It's not like we have the Linux desktop. And as I grew the YouTube channels, and due to that, not earning the most, but at least a little bit to compensate for 6 hours previous live stream of updating all the KDE and 7 hours of updating all the GNOME stuff, plus implementing Data, our AI bot, to auto scan packages and update them daily. It of course shows, and of course did I, if I would not have taken the decade off of maintaining T2 more visibly, we probably would have had that 10 years later, but it is what it is. Sometimes you are there on the right time at the right place, and sometimes you don't see the year of the Linux desktop on the timeline and do 10 years something else, like earning some money, doing something that actually people want to pay money for. Anyway, this is just some summary. It is absolutely outstanding how much is now working. It is obviously a joy as much as negative and depressed I sometimes come over there. That is just 60,000 revisions later, of only 60,000 revisions if I didn't had a 10-year sabbatical of maintaining core stuff. It would have been more, as well as initially we started with Subversion early, when Subversion, yes, I know Subversion, Git and stuff. But hey, with Git I could not as easily say it's a revision 66,000 whatever. It would be hash 123 AV 5A whatever. Initially, of course, so these are not all changes that ever went into Rock Linux, right? Initially, the first 5 or so, or 6, 7 years, 1996-ish, 1998 to 2000, whatever Subversion came out, we maintained Rock Linux and desktop Rock Linux with patches like people did, because CVS sucked, it didn't scale and wasn't atomic and stuff. Although in retrospect, maybe it would have been better to use CVS instead patches. Anyway, so the first 5 years or so, 1990 whatever to 2000, we maintained 10,000s of changes with incremental patches published on the website and released tarballs like other people did. And so that is of course on top of, since we put this into Subversion, let's see, would we see that here like that in 2003, basically 20 years ago. Anyway, absolutely amazing. It's as I said probably in the beginning, it's not even challenge anymore, right? In T2 it is so scripted, polished, patched, perfected. Sure, there will be things like Long Arch. I actually started to patch it a little bit. I will just finish it in a moment. Of course, there is stuff like Blackfin DSP that is broken, upstream broken so much that we would need to resurrect and patch it. I believe probably delete it from the Linux kernel, so we would even need the last working Linux kernel overlay stuff and so on. But for all the other now apparently 35 build configurations, they mostly build except small things like hey, we currently can't build CMake natively for 32-bit Spark because of a older glibc for Linux threads on SparkStation. The stuff that only otherwise OpenBSD and NetBSD have to deal with. Anyway, I mean, who cares about 40, 80, 100 megahertz SparkStation 2, SparkStation 5? Obviously not fun to run CMake. At least you can run previous video and Xorg server and Xterm. Anyway, absolutely amazing. It is also shocking how far we came with optimizing the heck out of it, because it is of course an absolute testament to Moore's Law and the epic thread-ripping performance of AMD Ryzen, which we are not sponsored to say. It's just the most price competitive stuff we can afford here ourselves. And it's absolutely nuts that any enthusiast consumer can just buy a reasonably priced and since release probably 40-50% discounted CPU anyway, with 96 gigs of memory and cross-compile 35 architectures in a day. I'm compiling this like yesterday, and I had some breaks because in the night my LVM2 volume ran out of space. Oops. And so on. So maybe all of this stuff would even build in less than 24 hours, because due to the out of space thing I lost some hours until I woke up in the morning and saw like, dear, why did the build stop? Amazing. Funny anecdote, I mentioned this before. When I was a student 20 years ago, and I had a 600 megahertz Athlon with whatever memory was back in the day, probably 256 megs of memory or whatever was standard back in the day. And I was a student I had Rock Linux back in the days. That was Rock Linux right before I forked it. I slept with this scripted to beep when it builds, right? So that exactly I don't lose 5 hours. Like I've 20 years. Open source programmers do open source things. I mentioned this before, right? That's stuff you do when you're a student, when you don't need sleep. Nothing like waking up at 3 in the night to your build server beeping because it failed out of memory or GC is broken. Anyway, absolutely amazed. Yesterday we did some last minute polishing, and as we did the irony, yesterday I made a video, I'm done. We will ship it as soon as the build is ready. And yesterday we did some polishing, like the X display manager, login manager, to actually work due to bin sh not being bash and z erroring out, and some other one path, was it TWM probably, path not being correct, for example. I believe it was TWM. And today this QEMU polishing to have actually, and that's of course the difference. I knew that running our ISOs for PowerPC and Spark did not just result in usable graphics in QEMU, but I did not care, right? Because I have real Spark, yes, that is a little bit luxury standpoint from me of my hardware collection. I have an Ultra Spark, I can boot it there. And I was aware of it, it was just never imported, right? And honestly, so on Ultra Spark Linux in QEMU, we use a tiny Box DRM like you would on a PC, and it's simply not standard, right? Like otherwise the ISO worked on real hardware. It's a bit of a, it's purely people playing along at home on not really real hardware. I mean, honestly, I would also rather say QEMU should actually emulate some hardware closer to what existed in Sun Ultra Spark. But nonetheless, I finally did it. We just now have Boss Tiny DRM in the initRD early for boot graphics. It's basically what we need. While I did, I actually changed the PowerPC configuration to have the frame buffer not built in on most other architectures. That is a generic T2 kernel configuration. The usual win-win, you look into that anyway. Each time I usually do a little bit of extra mileage of looking at some other details. So now the PowerPC kernel has no built-in frame buffer. It is pure modular, probably the first, at least that I remember, architecture. The benefit of that is I did this because we had the open frame buffer driver used for otherwise fallback graphics on PowerPC Linux anyway as module, and that is not auto-loading, and I prefer stuff as module. And then I thought, okay, when we anyway have that as module and want that loading as a fallback, we can also have this fully modular. For me, always a benefit if you run some server that doesn't have graphics, you don't have that at all loaded. And in general, it makes the kernel smaller. And with that, for example, early PowerPCs cannot necessarily load too large kernels, and every 100K there and 200K there always count. Also, of course, we're adding it to the initRD, but nonetheless, sometimes the sizes differ, and the initRD you can more fine-grained choose. We have a mini initRD and a more full-blown initRD. So having this fully modular, in my opinion, just always preferable to mix and match whatever you need. Anyway, I'm totally thrilled about the result. Of course, as usual, I wish we had it last year, but it's just, as you see here, right? It's only constant change and regressions, and you're basically constantly fighting an uphill battle of what changes upstream, and it's just many details. It's bootloader here, even PowerPC. Theoretically, I have Spark stuff to further debug, but that's like the Linux kernel for the last decade crashes on an 8 GB Ultra Spark, at least the only one I have, even Debian and other images. So T2 is currently the only Linux distribution which does not crash on an 8 GB memory. Sunblade 1000, maybe affecting any Sun for you, I guess, probably most likely, with 8 gig or more than 4 gigs of memory due to strange, huge page table mappings there that I work around it. I know approximately why it happens, but I spent already 8 hours on that some weeks ago, and I probably need another 8 hours to do that cleaner. But for now, I have a quirky solution that is good enough for one. There's always one more thing, right? But amazing achievements, especially keeping all those architectures alive between Itanium, UltraSPARC, HPP ARISC, which is basically everything in absolutely amazing shape, right? You take an UltraSPARC, you have working X graphics, you take an latest high-end quad-core Hewlett-Packard Precision architecture, and have usable ATI graphics there with Xorg, potentially maybe currently the only Linux distribution who had that. Yeah, even then we found that our 64-bit HPP ARISC actually didn't have boot code. The more people that tested, the more people announced that, the GNU-lib people, the HPP ARISC people, and everyone from YouTube and around the world. And it's, of course, other people tested differently, right? The usual, hey, that doesn't work for me. And I sit here like, what the heck worked for me? Turns out, of course, I only network booted the HPP ARISC as seen live on this channel. So I actually forgot to text it. It's like, yeah, of course, I then wrote, turns out we had no boot code in the, so that is, but yeah, that's why you do testing and unit testing. Let me just, this is a little bit, now I need to switch on the HPP ARISC because I forgot to text the CD out. Actually, yesterday I was thinking I need to, because it's my precious DVD plus RW for 4.7 GB T2 RISC workstation testing. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this summary. Basically, everything is amazing, and then we even the other day fixed GDB for Spark 64 with 32-bit user space to actually work. I knew for years that this was crashing, but this is kind of stuff nice to have, right? It's not like I'm regularly production workstation use debugging on UltraSpark. But thanks to your subscription here, your likes, your Patreon, YouTube membership, that is just all the stuff that enables that to actually finally fix it, keeping working, polish it, and yeah, basically this is an amazing release, and next year will be only better, because now we can do the nice things, right? I said it before, now we can work on the next big things, not only a microkernel, but even other really amazing features, and not just fixing a decade of digital debt and upstream change and regressions, and yeah, like fixing the last KDE and GNOME packages, but no, seriously, adding some nice features. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the summary. Maybe I should do this more often, like after work, before Christmas. And for you, that means for your Christmas present, you will have 35 freshly compiled, highest performance, unit tested, every reasonable architecture, and then some IBM mainframe T2 Linux support for you for your vintage and retro gear, like latest RISC-V board or Unix workstation under your Christmas tree. Let's take a look at the comments. There are some. That's basically the summary and what I wanted to present to this more mainstream audience. Burly Bear writes as a student, they actually needed sleep. Yes, me too, but that is when you try to become an open source developer and want to keep everything maintained and working. Burly Bear writes, need to put one of the Blade 1000 Excalibur back together. That sounds amazing. How much memory do you have? Because I'm curious. I mean, it must happen. This bug that I'm talking about must happen. Probably must occur for any system with more than 4 gigs of memory, I believe. Any Sun 4U with not Niagara faults, because they have larger. I'm not sure about Niagara, or what, not Niagara T1, what they were called, but whatever was the first Niagara Falls cool thread CPU with larger page size support. Probably most likely maybe OOPS is very early on boot, at least my Sunblade 1000 does. Question there, do we intentionally keep the T2 side unmodern or sort of clunky? Yes, yes we do, because we don't, but we continue. I mean, also I had no time, right? I said it before, I basically didn't touch it for 10 years, right? We maintained that for our virtualization. I said it before, right? We had actually in the 10 years I took a sabbatical of maintaining T2 Linux. We actually had not only embedded projects, we even did KVM virtualization for the Silicon Valley startup that virtualized macOS, for example, KVM work, and so on. And I basically had neither time nor motivation to touch the website. So only recently. But yeah, I mean, obviously we wanted to make it a little bit nicer. But I mean, realistically, do we need more? No. The answer is a website should have some text. I mean, honestly, my personal opinion is all the modern web shit is also way over-designed. I mean, even other normal developers, like even normal web developers, hate all their complexity with dozens of frameworks and dependencies and security nightmares and stuff. So nothing wrong with if you just want to present like, we don't need any dynamic shit for what? I mean, the one thing that would be cool, like the only dynamic shit I would want, I mean, obviously the menus need to be better and stuff, yes, but I mean, a website is information, right? That's also, in my opinion, a regression of the web, right? We should make a dedicated video, otherwise I will talk now about half an hour or an hour about the history and future of the web. But a long story short, you need some information, like a manual, like what more do you need? In my opinion, that is all you need, and it hopefully maybe loads still in SGI IRIX, maybe. I should actually try that in like Netscape 3 or so. Maybe not because we use some fancy CSS, but maybe that is still so compatible to somewhat render someone occasion. Anyway, but this is also, we can serve hundreds, thousands of page views on one server without serverless, orchestrated hyperscaling, right? And at the end of the day, I need to pay the serverless hyperscaling orchestration if we would have had it. Of course, we need to put more efforts into actually putting there better, more curated information, which I add their hardware listings and stuff. I even added here some new fresh install stuff. Recently, I've even found a typo in this RAID stuff because, truth be told, I even sometimes use it myself, right? If I do some scaling upgrades and whatnot on some data center stuff, I even copy and paste sometimes stuff myself. I mean, obviously, I of course also do it for myself here. Found here some typos, for example. We probably need to work a little bit more on the manual. We have this proper manual, but also didn't touch it for like a decade or a little bit more. Some people started to actually take a look there. It's using some subversion, Apache FOP or whatever, subversion derived stuff here. 2007 or so, probably. Certainly we should make that better, obviously. This is also, by the way, this is PDF, right? So yeah, we have some handbook, which is somewhat outdated, which we probably... But yeah, it's like at the end, unless you shell subscribe Patreon and stuff, nobody pays me for the stuff. So it's also like, I had stuff to fix and compile. It's not like, as a hobby on a weekend, you'll love to write on your handbook. So yeah, handbook. Then this menu is obviously a little bit garbage, especially on mobile. I did there some quick hack that mobile, it is at least like mobile views a little bit mobile, except the menu is then garbage. But otherwise, better menu, better mobile window menu. And the one dynamic thing what I actually find cool, which of course websites only have like making this like some wiki, but like not instant editable. Like basically some keep it stupid simple wiki stuff would be cool, so that other people sure, wikis exist, but like normal websites do not necessarily have, except if they are wiki. But what would be cool is like direct feedback, like a lightweight wiki. I would really like if that people would find a typo here and they can just like right click or whatnot and like, no, I want this like typo whatever, and then it goes to some review process. Like not instantly viewable because it's a website, but that is something that most websites don't have unless they are a wiki, and even then you would need to register. And I would love that for Joe users to propose changes without having a heavy registration thing, so like somewhat anonymous, except spam limiting or whatever, instant editing. That would be cool. That would be something that most sites don't even have. So this editing stuff, that would be, and then also, of course, it could be used for normal T2 developers to edit the stuff. Last but not least, I probably should mention we have a Git mirror, right? So GitHub here. Let's hope that it does not show my mobile number again. And so we mirror to Git now, right, for those total Git-loving aficionados. And if you're totally new to our stuff and our amazing Linux distribution, we have even some bounties, right, something that also nearly no other project has. Sure, some pay security bounties, what we pay feature bounties, probably something that is maybe not found in any other Linux distribution, which I like personally much more than security bounties, because truth be told, I mean, obviously there will be security issues, because it is just the nature of all the upstream C code in OpenSSM, the Linux kernel, which is why we basically daily have here, or at least weekly have here, patches for security, more security, pointer dereference, use after free, bounce, revert, and whatnot. And so yeah, I'm not paying, like, unless we become a Fortune 500 Linux distribution, I'm not paying for other people's security vulnerabilities, right? However, what we do now, and I somehow, I'm lost now here, is if you're new to the stuff, and I said it before, it is of course listed here. It's not like this is not, I mean, we listed here, right? You can even make money working on T2, implementing these feature bounties. Yes, they are not yet the largest sums, but hey, we are a small company with small Linux distribution, but yet do something that neither the Linux Foundation nor other Linux distributions do, like paying you to implement stuff we would want. Like, as simple stuff as adding missing optional dependencies of LibreOffice, OBS Studio, or I mean, it's even simple things, right? It's not even rocket science. Like every student, I would say, could do that. It's just copy and pasting metadata and sitting there for 1 hour doing some stuff. And of course, other stuff like hacking somehow or object introspection to be more compatible with cross-compiling. Actually, this bounty I can remove because it compiles again, I believe. Oh, I didn't log in. So yeah, this, I mean, also, I mean, obviously only if you need to do something, because this is actually, I just realized this, I did this recently myself. Yeah, even working on Chromium support and other stuff, like it's manageable, right? Like if you're very good with T2, you might be able to do that in 30 minutes. Maybe you need 1 hour. It's, in my opinion, a nice, I mean, obviously not to make you rich yet. Maybe shellac subscribe and then we can raise the bounties. But certainly for students and so on, it certainly can be a nice add-on, especially given that most open source projects do not pay their contributing developers. In my opinion, that is at least more than nothing, and as much as we currently can afford. I hope you enjoyed this, learned something. I have a phone call anyway, so don't forget to shellac subscribe. I hope you enjoy the new release as much as I do. Also, there is probably some, speaking of which, LVM that is actually known. I still need to script that, which is also why I wanted to do that soon. So that is, let's just, I have this on the to-do already. This is also why I actually wanted to build one more Clang thing. Oops, here. What do I have here? What do I even... did I use Sire? I used Sire. Here, that is Zoom linking that for silly Clang versus GCC compatible reasons. So that is, did I even config ARM 64 parallel? Oh, did I not? This is also the wrong one, because that is with Clang system compiler default. And then keep on error, because that is what we did not had. Build that. Am I even in the... Why is this HPPA not ARM? Maybe because I used build internal thing. That is why. ARM 64 Clang. That will fail, as can basically already control C that. I just need the source tree here to 21.5D. Did I cancel this too early? The wonders of live streaming. Let's do that again verbose. And let's see. Burly Bear, where are you located? This Burly Bear does not. Are you on Discord? To which Discord? But I basically, that is nice from you to say. What I need. I mean, I always said what what did I build here? Did I not build this already? Why did this not? What have I done? I basically don't really need that more. Until recently, I only had 2 UltraSpark. Like I mean, it was until recently I had only super slow UltraSpark, right? My original Ultra 5 was only 270 megahertz. I got somewhere, right, somewhere even. Yeah, I got a faster one somehow, 360, but 360 is still slow, and I had the Ultra 30, and that was all UltraSpark stuff, right? I got already a donation, so I got the Sunblade 1000 donated like 2 or 3 years ago already, which is totally amazing. I also got in the meantime, I mean, 3 or so HPPA risk I got for free from Twitter, not even my YouTube or T2 Linux distribution rated. Someone on Twitter is like, hey, I want to give this shit away. Who wants to pick it up? And I was the only one who picked some stuff up. I also gave 2 or 3 of those away. So it's like I'm hoarding this stuff because they were 2 or 3 the same model and stuff. So I now have, crazy enough, I know I gave so many away. I only have 3 HP PA RISC left, I believe. Probably. I basically also, I have a very, like 300 megahertz and the 800 megahertz and then the quad core monster. So basically that is super nice for me to say, but I currently don't really need anything. Also, then until the donation here, the Sunblade 1000 donation, then that was like 3 years ago, that was my fastest UltraSpark, which is still not super, I mean, it was highest end 20 years ago, obviously not today anymore. Not the super nicest to use due to lack of even more performance. And so I brought myself super cheap. I always buy the stuff super cheap, right? So I said this like 200 something euro effectively. The Sun T4-2. And so basically, I mean, the Sun T4-2 is of course super fast, right? That is Zen 1 territory from a decade ago. And so basically, super nice for me to say. What I really need eventually is a DEC Alpha. And what else? A Motorola 68K eventually would be nice, but that is so. But yeah, so there are some stuff like a next station. I don't really need a Cube. Next station would be nice, but next station doesn't run Linux except if we port it. But that's kind of. I'm pretty. Do I even like? Yeah, I would need to check my own hardware donation checklist. So basically, DEC Alpha is probably okay. Maybe eventually a Super 8 development board if I would not use a Dreamcast. But basically everything else is, but yeah, it's super nice for me to say, but I also, my office is obviously full with vintage and retro gear, right? It's not like I can stack here unnecessary UltraSpark and all the other stuff. Unless of course, yeah, if you need to get rid of stuff, then let me know, then I can stack it somewhere. Or give it away to other people in the community eventually, because I said it before, I don't need to hoard everything. Like one or two significant machines of each hardware are really enough to have. So debug, we actually wanted to create a Zoom link here. Is that here? It's basically probably, so I need to script this, so probably I will add this to GCC or so. It's only needed for Clang to find the GCC headers. That's a little bit silly, it is what it is. So yeah, what else did we have? So yeah, that's usually one simple question. I'll probably talk 5 minutes about it. What else are we? So that was the modern clunky. But yeah, I mean, the thing is also a website with just a little bit styling. I mean, we made it already a little bit better, I think, with like putting some hours in, but this fixing all the stuff, I just didn't had also more hours, right? Putting just some hours in, like cleaning some stuff up and so on. It could look significant more better than currently, with not that much work and without just rewriting everything and using modern stupid frameworks and serverless hyperscaling and stuff. Anyway, that's for the video. As usual, if you don't forget to subscribe, maybe Patreon, GoFundMe, GitHub sponsorship, or just PayPal, because all the funding obviously helps putting all this time, attention, detail, and fixing all the upstream bugs and regressions, like Long Arch for Chinese friends and stuff. And I hope you enjoyed this, learned something. If you missed something or have other comments, leave them down below, right? Like you downloaded it, something didn't work, some features you would like to see, packages you would miss. Also, even more amazing than comments here or on GitHub or the Discord are patches, right? After donations, patches, always the most welcome. And I hope to see you soon for all the next good fun IT stuff to come.